Today we're going to be multiplying using integer chips. Just a reminder, yellow is positive and red is negative. When we multiply, we have groups of items. So here I have two groups of 3 positives. So we're going to model that. There's one group of 3 positives, but this says I need 2 groups of 3 positives. So then I have 2 groups of positive 3, or 2 groups of 3 positives, and that gives me a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positive chips. There's one group and there's another group. Okay. Let's look at a similar problem. Now I need 3 groups of negative 2. There is one group of negative 2, 2 groups of negative 2, and 3 groups of negative 2. I have 3 groups of negative 2, and that gives me a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chips, and they're all red, so that is a negative 6. I have negative 2 groups of 3. Well, we can't have negative groups. So we change the words that we use slightly and we say the opposite of 2 groups of 3. So this is the opposite of 2 groups of 3. So we're going to lay out first 2 groups of 3. This is 2 groups of positive 3, giving me positive 6. Now I need the opposite of that, so I'm going to flip the chips to show the opposite. So the opposite of 2 groups of positive 3 is 2 groups of negative 3, and that gives me a total of negative 6. Let's look at something similar. I have the opposite of 3 groups of negative 2. So I'm going to start by laying out 3 groups of negative 2. I tell my students to cover up that first negative sign so that they can understand that it's 3 groups of negative 2. I have 1 group of negative 2, 2 groups of negative 2, 3 groups of negative 2. Now I'm going to take the opposite of 3 groups of negative 2. So that means I'm going to flip over 1 group, flip over 2 groups, and flip over 3 groups. So the opposite of 3 groups of negative 2 is 3 groups of positive 2, or positive 6.